Jennifer here again. I'm going to show you now how to get this hair to be able to be separated from the background so I can put it on the potato. So the first thing we'll do is we will show you the layer where the hair came from. I'll turn this layer off by just clicking on the eyeball. And remember, I've got my keystrokes showing here, so if you want to look at those, you can as well. But now, older versions of Photoshop may not be as good at separating the hair from the body as what I'm going to show you, but you can still do it. So I'm going to kind of show you some of the differences. I am working with 2021, which has some really great features. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to use the quick selection tool. You'll notice here that I have select subject, which is an interesting one. But let's try that first and just see what happens, okay? So if I select subject, it actually does a really good job, okay, of getting the hair, but it also gets her body. So, and you'll notice here that select and mask gives us a closer look at what's selected, and then you can use refine edge to edit the hairline selections, okay? So let's go ahead and look at what that looks like. Try it now. That's just select and mask. Now, select subject does not exist in older versions of Photoshop. So what you could do is you could just go into select and mask after you've used a selection tool. I'm going to show you this way, and then I'll show you some older ways to do things. All right, so I go to select and mask, and I am in this section here, and I want to make my view the overlay so I can really see what I am selecting. And by the way, by default, the overlay is going to be red. And as you can see, it did a really good job of selecting her hair and knocking out the background because select subject was such a great tool. So now if I choose refine hair, you'll notice that you want to be in object aware. So let's try object aware. Okay. And let's do refine hair. And you'll notice it even refined the hair better than it did before. But the problem here is that I still have this part. So the first thing I'm going to do is just to show you how well it did, what a good job it did with the hair, is that I am going to go out of this selection. I'm going to go ahead and go with it. It did a very good job. And all of these sliders will help you make even better selections. But what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to scroll down to the bottom, and let's just look at output settings and see if decontaminate colors helps even more. In this case, I don't know if it did. I think it probably didn't. But I'm going to leave it off, and I'm going to output to new layer without a layer mask, just a new layer, okay? That's really important. So you want to open up output settings, output to new layer. Then I'm going to click on OK. And as you can see, I've now knocked out that blue background extremely well just by using the select subject and then going into select and mask, object aware, and refining hair, okay? However, I still have her whole body, all of those things. So what can I do now to get rid of her? Well, I can go back in, and this is the older way to do things because, like I said, the older versions of Photoshop are not going to have select subject or refine hair or any of those things. So I'm going to use quick selection tool, and I'm going to just I'm going to make it bigger by hitting the right bracket, which is just to the right of the P. I'm wondering why it's not showing that. Let me just do a command save. Okay, so command save is working, but the right bracket is not showing. It is just, they're both just to the right of the P. So the left bracket makes your tool smaller, the right bracket makes it larger. And I'm going to select her hair down here. And of course, I can select everything that's here because this is already removed from the background pretty well. There may be a little bit of a blue haze there, but it's looking really good. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to make this tool smaller, maybe get some of this stuff here. And now I'm going to hold down Option, as you can see I've done here, and I'm going to subtract from the selection by clicking and dragging up around her head. Okay, and that's looking pretty good. But now what I'm going to do is I'm going to zoom in. Okay, so I can see this better. Zooming in is Command plus, just to show you Command plus, or Command equal. Command minus zooms out. Okay, so now let's just see if I can get a little bit more of that hair. And remember, this is, as somebody commented with the other exercise, this is a tedious process, but for those of us who are artists, it's actually quite fun. And it's important to know how to do this, even if you are not a person who likes to do things that are slow and take time. Because that way, when you work with people, with artists who are going to be doing these things for you or with you, especially people who are prop makers, you want to be able to know how to talk to them. So knowing Photoshop is very important in that case. Okay, so I've removed this area. You know, if I wanted to be really detailed, I could really get in there and work with the hair even more. I can make this tool much smaller. I could even go in here with the Lasso Tool. The Lasso Tool is great if you're really having problems with the Quick Selection Tool. And I'm just scrolling down here. And the way the Lasso Tool works, it looks like a little lasso. If I hold down Shift, I can add to a selection. But I have to make sure that I make like a completely closed path, okay, so that it'll get what I want. So in other words, let me show you again. I'm going to hold down Option this time, and you'll see a minus sign. If I hold down minus, I'm going to remove from the selection. So maybe I want to get rid of this part here that is showing part of her skin, but I have to go around the whole thing and make a complete closed loop, like a circle, but it's not a circle. It's just I close the selection that I make. I'll do it again. Option, and I go through here and I drag along and I close this whole line that I'm making, and then I get rid of that area. So as you can see, using the Lasso Tool, excuse me, I can really get some really great perfect selections. I just have to have a steady hand, okay? And as you can see, you know, I'm going to go through here and grab some of this hair like that, you know, and then I've got that area. If I want to get rid of this area in here, I can hold down Option and make a little circle in that area, okay? So that's the Lasso Tool. And, you know, I'm really trying to just get in there and get rid of areas. There's another tool that you can use, which would be the Magic Wand tool. And the way it works is it works based on color. So if I want to remove maybe this white area, I can hold down Option and make sure the tolerance is at about 32 and that it is contiguous. Otherwise, you're going to get really huge selections and problems. So right here, you can see that this is selecting the white, and it's actually much faster than using the Lasso Tool in this case. But every tool has a really good purpose. So, you know, make sure that you take advantage of all these different selection tools. The selection tools being the ones that create marching ants, which are these things that look like cars slowly driving on the 405 freeway, right? So in this case, using the Magic Wand tool is actually quite helpful. So I'm just going to go through here and get rid of a lot of these white areas. And then I will go back into and I can even go into an area that I used the Lasso Tool with. So I'm going to hold down Option again, just get rid of a little bit of that. extra skin there. Go over here, and I can refine all of this using the Magic Wand tool, holding down Option to remove, Shift to add. So I'm just getting rid of all that white in there from the shirt. And obviously, the more time I take to perfect this, the better. So if any of you like to paint, or maybe you're a tattoo artist, or you just have other kinds of artistic skills where it takes time and it's really fun and kind of meditative to do this stuff, you'll really enjoy working with these tools. Okay, so let's say that's good enough. Maybe I'm not going to get all of these curls, even though they're kind of fun, just so that I don't waste your time here. Now I'm going to hit Command minus so I can just see what I've got. And I think I'll go in here and I'll go ahead and use that magic wand to get rid of some of this area. And remember, these edges will be refined once I take this into Select and Mask. I'm going to actually add some of this. So I'm going to go right into that brown hair and hold down Shift. Now, if you accidentally make a mistake like I just did, and now you get this huge selection, just hit Command Z, and that will undo what you did. I'm going to try one more time. If it doesn't work, I won't worry about that hair. Oh, it did work. Okay, so that's pretty good. So now I'm going to go back into Select and Mask. And don't choose Select Subject again, because then it'll just go back to her whole body and then you'll have wasted time. But you can Command Z out of that as well. And this, like I said, is the old-fashioned way to do things before this 2021 release. So you'll notice that I now have gotten a lot of her hair. There's a little bit of white in there. This area is good because this is what I had before. But what I want to do is I want to make these less jagged, right? I want to make it more of a realistic looking selection. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on Smart Radius. And I'm going to just bring the radius up a little bit, and you'll see that this area starts to get more, it starts to recognize the difference between the hair and the face much better. And I can go in with the tools in here as well, and I can brush in and out and refine the edges a little bit more. So let's try the refine edge. I'm going to make it negative. And let's see if I can just go in there, get rid of that area. Let's see, it doesn't seem to be doing what I want. Okay, so let's try this one here. This is just the brush tool. So what it's going to do is I'm going to hold down Option, make it negative, and click in here and see if it does what it's supposed to. Yes, so now it's getting rid of those little bits right there. But there's another thing that we can do to even help this look even better. And what I'm going to do, so I'm going to take that Smart Radius, bring it up again, and just hope that it can handle this. Try to really refine that hair down here at the bottom. It's looking pretty good. And you can always erase things that are just really stubborn, or if you just don't want to spend too much time on this. Maybe I'll go even further out. Let's see. Let's see if that helps even more. Sometimes the further out you go, you start to get things in that you don't want. Like I don't want her eyebrows at this point. And as you can see, now her eyebrows are starting to come in. So maybe I'll bring it down a little bit. But, I could always just erase her eyebrows too if I wanted. So now I've kind of gotten rid of her eyebrows. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go down here. These are all great tools, but they're not going to be good for hair. They're more for things that where you want a smoother selection, but just try out these sliders for different selections that you make, and you'll see how they work. Feather is going to give you a softer edge. We definitely don't necessarily want that. It's going to give it more of a halo in this case. So I'm just going to bring this back down to 0. Contrast can be good for certain things if you're dealing with issues where you need to increase the contrast of an image. Shifting the edge, like I can bring the edge in a little bit if I don't want to get some of that white in there. That could be helpful. In this case, I think I'm okay. But decontaminate colors. Remember, output settings is normally closed. So click on this arrow so you can open output settings. Click on decontaminate colors. Sometimes that can be very helpful. and it's at 100%. I still have a little of that white in there, but it's not that bad. And I'm going to do, once again, output to new layer. And let's see how that looks. There you go. So now I've basically done an even better selection than the one I showed you in the beginning. And now what I can do is change to my Move tool, put this hair over the potato head, okay? And maybe at this point, since I like the length of the hair and how big it is, maybe I need to take my potato head and make it smaller. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab my potato head, and my left and right eyes. So I'm going to shift click. So I've selected all three of these. And once again, edit, transform, or actually free transform, Command T. And now eye right, eye left, and potato head are all going to shrink when I grab the edge, hold down Option so I can shrink it from the center and make my potato head smaller. So that could be kind of fun. I can even just bring it over here. And now I move that potato head and it's in the center there. And that's looking pretty funny, right? Pretty nice. So that's good. So I'm going to go ahead and hit return. And now I can see that there's a little bit of the potato head that's not quite the way I want it to be. So maybe I'll move it like up a little bit. And now let's say I want to erase some of this hair here. So what I can do is go back to the hair layer, which is right here. And I want to name this too, by the way. So we'll call this hair. Okay. And I'm going to go ahead and use my eraser tool. So here's my eraser tool. And it right now is pretty small. So I'm going to hit the right bracket. And here's what I want to do. I want to soften this tool because if I erase right now, it's going to be a very hard line. See that? I'm going to hit Command Z. And I'm going to soften it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit the right bracket to make it a little bit bigger. And then I'm going to hold down Shift and hit the left bracket. And what that does, if you look up here at the 60, watch how it gets softer. Okay, watch again. Shift left bracket, which is just to the right of the P. And now it's a softer edge. See that? And the more I hit left bracket, the softer that edge becomes. Right, shift right bracket, and the harder that edge becomes. So I'm holding down Shift, I hit the left bracket, I'll make it just a little softer than the hardest edge. And now I go along this edge, make sure you're on the hair layer. And as you can see, I'm going to kind of just erase that area, okay, which is kind of nice. There we go. Okay, and you just want to be kind of careful and gentle with it. And now our potato head has some really cool hair. One other thing I can do is I could put part of the potato above the hair. And then I could do some things like I can liquefy and things like that. I'll probably show you that in a different video because this video is getting pretty long. But as you can see, this is really nice. Now, one thing I could do, if I just want to make these edges a little bit better, is I could go ahead, there are some other tools that are pretty nice. I could go with the Smudge Tool. Smudge is kind of nice because then you can kind of just softly smudge the hair out a little bit. So I'll just show you what I mean. See how I'm just kind of moving it very ever so slightly here. That gives you a little bit more freedom than the eraser tool. But then it can become a little blurry. So another thing we can do, which is really fun, and I'll just show you this tool right now. This is a Liquify tool I'm going to show you, is I can liquify. And liquify is really cool. Let me show you how that works. I go into Filter, Liquify, ... And what will happen is if Photoshop's going to cooperate with us, we get this other new dialog box, and it allows us to take whatever layer we're on. Right now I'm on the hair layer, and I can make it smaller by pushing it in. I can pucker it. I can make it bloat out. I can use the forward warp tool and take a look at this. So maybe I want to make the hair get even wilder. So if I want to, I can bring it out more. Bring it up more. Look at that. Really cool. You can do some amazing things with the Liquify tool, and I'll probably be showing you more of the Liquify tool a bit later. But this is pretty cool. I could even maybe bring this in a little bit if I want. Okay. And I could adjust that line there along the potato's edge. And when I use the Liquify tool, the cool thing about that is that it won't make a softer, more blurred edge. Once I've done all of these, so take a look, I've made the hair a little bit bigger. I haven't done crazy things. I could use the Liquify tool to make all kinds of crazy things happen. But I've made it pretty subtle, and you'll see what will happen. Click on OK. And you see, now it's just a little bit bigger. And if I go into my history, which is a great way to see how changes occur, if you want to go back in history, take a look. Just this is your history. Go back to the Smudge tool. So this is before I applied the Liquify tool. This is after I applied the Liquify tool. Before, after. Okay? So Liquify is a really good tool. Just remember it's in filter. Don't go to this Liquify. Go to the one down here, Liquify ... And then it will open up the dialog box for you. This is just the last tool you used, and it will just do weird things that you don't want it to do. So go to Liquify ... And then you can do all kinds of fun things. I'm going to show you one more thing with Liquify. Let's say I want these, let's say I want to make a neck here, okay? Or I just want to stretch this potato out in a weird way. I would go to the potato head, go to Filter, Liquify ... And you can do, like I said, some very drastic things with that tool. And now I'm on the potato layer because I selected it in the Layers panel. I make sure I'm on this one, the Forward Warp tool, and watch what happens if I do this. Whoop! Look at that. Now the potato sort of has a neck, but I would have to do weird things. I'd have to kind of make a chin now if I wanted to do that. But watch what happens. See that? So now I have this neck, and I could add, I'd have to add some lines to make it look like more like a chin, and I'd have to do some shading. But that is a really cool feature. Or what I could do is, before I use the Liquify tool, let me just show you something. I could do this. I could duplicate the potato head like that. And then I could take this potato head that's behind this potato head, use the Liquify tool. And now I already have a nice chin. And using this back potato that's behind the other potato, okay, look at that. Now I've made a neck. And click on OK. And as you can see, I've done so much to it that it's very warped looking. But now I have a chin here, and I have a neck because this potato head has been liquefied. If I turn it off, turn it on. And this potato head has not. Okay, remember, to copy a layer, all you have to do is drag it into the plus sign, and you have a copy. All right, that's a lot for today for this lesson. I will be making more lessons for you, but we're going to stop recording now, and we'll continue with another lesson. Thank you.